It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. And then it says here, it is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body.
Exactly. That was
And
my point. So Paul
yeah,
said this.
that is my point too, because it says here, howbeit that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual. The first man on earth, earthy, the second man is the Lord from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy, and as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. So Jesus had a heavenly body, which is called a spiritual body.
Right. Or
So,
celestial body, right? Spiritual body.
yes.
So exactly. So according to Paul, when you're resurrected, you have a different body. You have a spiritual body. He said, whatever is sown on earth, which means your body gets
Yes.
decayed on earth, and then
Hmm.
now you become a spirit. That's what you believe.
Yeah,
You
it
believe in
is a
heaven, you're gonna be
spiritual
spirit.
body.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. When Jesus was resurrected, he did
Hmm.
not resurrect as spiritual body. He was bone and flesh. He even told them that. He said to them
Yeah, he
in
was
Luke
flesh.
24. Yeah, he told them in Luke 24. I'll read for you from 39 so we can get context. So I don't want to misquote it again. In Luke 24, verse 39, he says, look at my hands and my feet. It is I, myself. Touch me and see. A ghost, another translation, a spirit, does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have. So he's telling them in Luke 24:39, Ricky, that the spirit does not have flesh and bones, but I do. Look at my hands and my feet. This means that the resurrection that you believe in of Jesus is not the same of Paul. Paul says that you're gonna resurrect as a body, as a spiritual body, but Jesus did not. He resurrected as a regular human body. Not only that, he was hungry. He asked for food, and they gave him honeycomb and fish, and he ate. Spirits don't eat. You know that, Ricky,
Yeah,
right? Spirits don't
spirits
eat.
don't. No,
Exactly.
spirits don't.
So how does Jesus was resurrected not in a spiritual body, as Paul says, in the flesh, and he was hungry? How does that make any sense? Do you see how it's different than Paul's interpretation of the resurrection, Ricky?
Paul gives a broader understanding based on what raises from the dead. Jesus was called the resurrection according to the scripture. He calls himself, I am the resurrection, right?
Yeah, but he
So
raised from the dead.
when he went,
He was raised from the dead,
so
right?
when, yes, that's true. So that, because that is resurrection, right? You cannot
Right.
have a
So no,
resurrection
but
without
he didn't
dying.
have the spiritual body that Paul is talking about.
He didn't have it at that moment when he came to the disciples, right? Because listen, in that verse is also written when I don't know if it's that verse, but where Thomas is, it is written that he came while the door was shut. Which flesh and bone can come in a meeting while the door is shut? How can you be in a
So
location while the door was yet
that's
shut?
that's a good point.
Because
So just let me get your
that was,
perspective. So make sure I understood you right. So you're
yes,
saying he did not have flesh and bone then, right?
it says he has. The scripture says, right?
Says what?
The scripture that you just read in Luke. What
Right.
does
So
it say?
Jesus, because you're saying that what kind of flesh and bone go through the wall, which means
That's true because
which
when
means you're saying.
Thomas,
Let me just finish if you don't mind. Which means you're saying that of course he did not have flesh and bones. How can he go through the wall? This is the
no,
message I'm giving you.
I know, I'm asking you, what flesh and
Oh, okay,
bone that
okay,
we know as
right.
humans, not we as spirits,
No,
but
doesn't
what
exist.
flesh and bone
There's no such
can
thing.
go through a door? I'm
There's
asking
no.
you that.
There is
But
no
with
such thing.
God, everything is possible. I'm not talking
Yeah, yeah.
about God here. I'm
Exactly,
talking
exactly.
just worldly,
That's
right?
very. So I think we're coming to agreement here because now at least we agree that Jesus Himself says, "Handle me. Look at my hands and feet. Handle me and see."
Alhamdulillah.
And then He's made out of flesh and bones, and that the Spirit does not have flesh and bones. Now we at least agree that He was not a spiritual body, right? We agree on this part.
No,
Good,
yeah.
very good, very good. Now the issue now, which is a good point you brought. How was he able to go through the walls if he's not spiritual body? Well, I
I
think
don't
you
know.
answered it yourself. You answered it.
No,
He's
I don't have the answer to that
okay. I
because
think you okay. I'll tell you
no,
what the answer is.
I don't have the answer to that because it is written that when the disciples were there, he came in while the door was yet shut. So my question is, how can a body of flesh and blood come there
Yeah, I
while
can
he
answer. I
always
can answer
yet
you if you'd like.
shot.
I can humbly answer you, and then you don't have to accept it, of course. But and I think I feel like you would agree with me here. So you and I both believe, like, obviously he's sent by God, right? And God did miracles through him, like Peter says. Jesus of Nazareth, a man anointed or appointed by God. God done miracles through him, right? And obviously he had miracles. He was able to raise the dead and all these things by the permission, by the will of God, right? So if he's a messenger and a prophet of God, then we have no issues accepting that he would do supernatural phenomena, such as, for example, transfiguring and changing faces like he did in a mountain, like you mentioned earlier, right? Or like even going through a wall, or like even raising the dead, because we've already accepted, you and I, that he's not a regular person. He's chosen by God. God did miracles through him, right? Kind of like Moses. What kind of man splits the sea with his staff? It doesn't make any sense. It's against every uh, thing you learned in physics and all. But he's a prophet and messenger of God, so that's why it's called a miracle. It goes against the laws of nature, right, etc. So because he's a prophet and messenger, he was able to do that. But the point I'm making here is that he was not raised a spiritual body. You got that, Ricky?
I'm listening.
Right. So so I guess the conclusion here is that Paul believes that the body gets decayed on earth, and what comes up is a spiritual body, right? Which obviously, as you believe, or you're supposed to believe that you don't get hungry, you don't have sex, you don't have the desire, the flesh. What you guys call flesh. Flesh is weak. You don't have that anymore. But that's not the case for Jesus, because Jesus, he got up, or he was resurrected, as you believe, and he was hungry. He was hungry. He asked for food. So now we have to ask ourselves, why is he hungry? He's resurrected. He's supposed to have got rid of all these things and became a spiritual body. And Jesus himself refused that. He says, I'm not a spirit. Spirits don't have flesh and bones. I do. Now give me some food. Now,
Mhm.
why do you think he's doing that? What message do you think he was trying to tell them?
It is not written. You can fill in. You can fill in. I don't fill in the scripture.